Hey everybody, welcome back to Walking with Jesus Daily. We are in day 280. We're going to cover Matthew, Mark, and Luke. They are going to continue on from where they left off. We just had this very awesome, in my opinion, lesson. One of my absolute favorites, as I've talked about multiple times yesterday, of the coin and to whom do you belong? Render to Caesar what is Caesar's. Render to God what is God's. We have to live lives that are far outside of that are far removed from the world and highly invested in forever. If we're not investing in forever, think about it like this. This is very easy to think about. If you someday plan to not work anymore, if you someday plan to retire, and maybe this isn't for everybody, maybe everybody's not planning on retiring, but if you someday plan to retire and you want to stop working, it still takes money to live, and you can't mooch off people or spend your life on the streets. So you would invest in some kind of retirement, right? Of course, you would put some money away if you're able. If not, and you just want to work forever, that's fine too. But what if something were to happen, right? So what you do is you are hopeful that one day you'll get to stop working and you'll have enough money to live out until you die. And if you're really blessed, then you hope that you have enough that you can maybe leave to your children, right? Who knows? Could get wild, could get crazy. The fact of the matter is, this is where we're at. This is life. You're no longer saving up for the things in this world because you won't even get to enjoy them. You're saving up for the things outside of this world. You're saving up for things that actually matter. If we're not focused on forever, and we're just focused on the moments we have right now, the moments we have will someday end. Forever will not end. And this just had me thinking a lot. I've been, you go through your mountaintops and valleys, as I like to call them, and the good news is that every valley is right next to a mountaintop. And every mountaintop, this is the bad news, is right next to a valley. I have to constantly remind myself that when Jesus took Peter, James, and John up on the mountain and he was transfigured, they never, ever, 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 ever wanted to leave that place. They wanted to set up tabernacles and stay there forever. And then they were done, and Jesus walked them down the mountain into a valley. That valley was filled with disciples arguing, with a man pleading with people, can someone heal my son? And with them not being able to do it, and with faith being asked to be, increased, help my unbelief. I believe, help my unbelief. With Jesus casting out this demon. So imagine going from the highest of highs to nearly the lowest of lows, because you're standing there and you can't overcome this demon. You can't cast it out. You can't help this boy, but you come in the name of Jesus. Jesus does it himself, teaches them a lesson. Well, I'm in that spot right now. I've been in that spot for a while. I love teaching. I love going through the Bible. I love trying to make things simple as God gives them to me. I love doing all of these things only because he puts it in me to do. I would personally, before this all happened, I would just be quiet. I kind of like that. The Spirit of God riles me up and gets me overly excited, but I kind of like the quiet, me personally. And I'm in that valley spot right now where I still feel His presence, but it's not as often as I want to. I'm overcome with a lot of things that I'm trying to surrender. And this is just my opinion, okay? This is Dan's opinion. You know, I can't say Daniel chapter 1 because there is a Daniel chapter 1. So just hear me out. If you are in the spot where you feel like you can't feel God, and you feel like you're not being heard, and you feel like you're alone, and you feel like things are overcoming you, like you're quick to anger, or you're impatient, or obviously I'm speaking about me, okay? Or everything has to just be done right, or you can't seem to laugh about something, or whatever it is. It doesn't really matter, okay? You've got your thing. Everybody's got their thing. My opinion is this. I have to believe that God is allowing me to be in this place where I feel very little, I hear very little, I question and I plead with Him to return to me. I say the words of David, let not your spirit depart from me. I don't want to be separate from you. And my opinion on the matter is this. It's, if from this point forward in my life, I never felt God's presence again, I never heard God's voice again, and I suffered physically from now until the time I draw my last breath, would I still go and make disciples? Would I still plead out loud to God and give Him praise and thanks? Would I still tell the world around me how good God is, even if I didn't feel Him or hear Him again? And I hope the answer to that is an obvious absolutely. But there are times, guys, and you know these times, that it's just dark. Like it's just silent and dark, and you compound that with anxiety and worry, and you compound that with suffering and pain, and you compound that with no sleep, and you hear the whispers of Satan over the voice of God, and you just kind of like, just kind of in that spot. It's okay if you're in that spot. You're not the only person that has been in that spot. I used to always start a lot of lessons with pray. And if you can't seem to pray, then you crank up the volume and you praise. And if you can't seem to praise, then you find a way to go be selfless and serve. Go serve somebody. Go be kind to somebody. Go love somebody. And if you can't seem to do, any of those things, just focus on one thing good. And don't let anything take that one good thought away from you. And you remember that there was a man sent by God. It was God Himself, the very DNA of God. And He died for you in the exact spot and shape that you're in right now. Because He loves you in ways that cannot be put into words. I want you to remember something. That Jesus died alone for everyone. And when He did, it was dead silence for His disciples. for these men and women who spent every single day with him for the last 3 years. It was silent. The only thing they felt was deep, deep sorrow and regret. They felt terrible. But they weren't left there. Jesus returned to them. And you won't be left there either. But they didn't stop. They still met. They were still together. Satan wants to use this time to tear us apart from God and from one another. But the only way he can do that is if you let him, and if you play on his team. I don't care how badly you don't want to be with people who love Jesus. You go and be with people who love Jesus. I don't care how badly you don't want to pray or praise or sing. The flesh hates you. The flesh is self-destructing. It just wants to kill itself. It thrives on it. It's very strange, but it's the truth. So please never stop calling out to God. I'm so sorry that was the longest intro ever. But if it was meant for someone to hear today, then I'm thankful that you hear it today. And don't worry about me. I've been in this hole a long time. I've been in this hole before. It doesn't change anything about me. It just makes me upset about how I am sometimes. It allows me to see who I am without Jesus, who I need to be, and how I just need to continue to plead to be near him, be in a constant state of repentance, be in a constant state of seeking him, never, ever, ever stop praying, never, ever, ever stop believing, never stop doing his work. And as long as I never stop, I'm always walking towards him. And he tells me that if I seek him with my whole heart, I will find him. He tells me that if I draw near to him, he will draw near to me. He tells me that if I flee from the devil, that he will flee from me. He tells me he's never left me alone and he never will. Regardless of what I feel or think or hear. I'm too loved for that. So I won't believe the deception and the lies of Satan. I will only believe how good God is. Matthew 22, starting in verse 23. It says, "The impostors were baffled in the presence of all the people. When they realized once again that they were unable to trap Jesus, they went away stunned." What am I reading? Passion? Hang on. Let me switch this over to ESV real quick. All right. The same day, verse 23. Yep. Matthew 22:23. Here we go. The same day, the Sadducees came to him, who say that there is no resurrection. So now we know something about the Sadducees. And they asked him a question, saying, "Teacher, Moses said, if a man dies having no children, his brother must marry the widow and raise up offspring for his brother." So too the second and third, down to the seventh. That is a lot. After them all, the woman died. In the resurrection, which they don't believe in. In the resurrection, therefore, of the seven, whose wife will she be? For they all had her. First off, very strange. All this is very strange. We'll talk about this in a minute. All right. But Jesus answered them, "You are wrong, because you know neither the Scriptures nor the power of God." This is why you're wrong. Let me basically put this out this year. Because you don't know anything about what you talk about. All right? "For in the resurrection, they will neither marry nor are given in marriage, but are like angels in heaven." So what does this tell us? That you're not up there married or getting married or doing an engagement. You're like angels. So that means that angels also are not married or given in marriage, right? If we put the two together. It also tells us that there is a resurrection. Well, that's cool. Jesus is confirming a lot with one sentence. "And as for the resurrection of the dead, have you not read what was said to you by God? I am the God of Abraham, and the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob." They weren't all alive at the same time, nor were they when he said this. He says, "He is not the God of the dead, but of the living." So let me explain this to you. You don't understand God's power, one. Two, you don't understand the Scriptures that you say you understand. "And when the crowd heard it, they were astonished at his teaching." Mic drop. Right? This was from Exodus. Okay, so this is Exodus 36 when he says this. So we can be pretty clear that Exodus was Moses. 400 years after Joseph moved his family there, right? They know Abraham, Jacob, or Isaac there. All right? So this is pretty easy to understand. Let's check out these other versions real quick, okay? I am going to change this over to the Passion, and we're going to go read, see what we got here. Mark 12, 18 through 27. Mark 12, 18 through 27. Passion Translation, okay? "Some of the Sadducees, a religious group that denied there was a resurrection of the dead, came to Jesus to ask this question." Now, before we ask this question, if you didn't believe there was an afterlife, no resurrection, where would your focus be? Correct. It'd be on this life. Only this life. How great can this life be? How wealthy can you live? How powerful can you be? How much can you preserve in this life? How long can you live? It would turn into a very, very selfish life, because you would only be concerned with this life. There's no resurrection. So imagine how the Sadducees would live. Here's their question. "Teacher," they're gonna tell Jesus about what the law says. "The law of Moses teaches that if a man dies before he has children, his brother should marry the widow and raise up children for his brother's family line. Now, there was a family with 7 brothers. The oldest got married, but soon died, and he had no children. The second brother married his oldest brother's widow, and he also died without any children, and the third also. At this point, if you're the fourth brother, I would be looking into how your other brothers died, because there seems to be a common denominator. All right. This repeated down to the seventh brother, none of whom had children. Finally, the woman also died. So here's our dilemma, all right? Hear us out here, Jesus, oh great teacher. Which of the 7 brothers will be the woman's husband when she's resurrected from the dead, since they all were once married to her? Who's it going to be? Oh, we have a little note here. Let's check it out. This apparently is in Deuteronomy 25, 5 through 10. Let's take a look at it. Deuteronomy 25, 5 through 10. Sorry for the silence. I'm enjoying it. I know my wife would be shocked right now. Okay. If brothers dwell together, and one of them dies and has no son, the wife of the dead man shall not be married outside the family to a stranger. Her husband's brother shall go into her and take her as his wife, and perform the duty of a husband's brother to her. And the first son whom she bears shall succeed to the name of his dead brother, that his name may not be blotted out of Israel. And if the man does not wish to take his brother's wife, then his brother's wife shall go up to the gate to the elders and say, my husband's brother refuses to perpetuate his brother's name in Israel. He will not perform the duty of a husband's brother to me. And the elders of his city shall call him and speak to him. And if he persists, saying, I do not wish to take her, then his brother's wife shall go up to him in the presence of the elders and pull his sandals off his foot and spit in his face. And she shall answer and say, so shall it be done to the man who does not build up his brother's house. And the name of his house shall be called in Israel, the house of him who had his sandals pulled off. So that's what the law says. I'm sure there's maybe slightly a bit more to this that I'm not completely understanding. There is a reason behind this, and there's several other verses, and I really don't want to deep dive into this, if you don't mind. I'd like to get back to Mark 12, where we left off. But if you want to deep dive, go deep dive. See what you can find out, and tell us about it on here. All right, so we're going to be back in the Passion. I'll try to hurry this up. I'm sorry, guys. All right, Jesus answered them, you are mistaken because your hearts are not filled with the revelation of the Scriptures or the power of God. For when they rise from the dead, men and women will not marry, just like the angels of heaven don't marry. When you rise from the dead, you will. They will not be married because they're going to be like the angels. Angels don't marry. Now concerning the resurrection, haven't you read in the Torah what God said to Moses at the burning bush? I've answered your marriage problem. I've also answered your resurrection problem, but we're going to get more into that. I am, at the burning bush, I am the living God, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. Meaning I am currently, I was then, I am now, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, which means they exist now. God is not dead, and God is not the God of the dead, but the living. And you are all badly mistaken. A couple notes here. I'm just going to check them out real quick. You wander off the path of truth. That is true. of the Sadducees. The implication Jesus is making is that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob were all currently alive in glory with him, and were when God spoke to Moses through the burning bush. They said, "You have wandered off the path of truth." And the Sadducees were teaching something that was untrue and leading people down a path that is untrue. Just hear the words of Jesus. Luke 20:27, finishing up. Luke 20. I'm going to be amplified now. Like I need to be amplified. All right. Now, some of the Sadducees who say there is no resurrection came to him and they questioned him. The Sadducees do not care about Jesus. Let's make that very clear. They don't even really understand the words of God. Okay? This is what they said. "Teacher, Moses wrote for us a law. If a man's brother dies, leaving a wife and no children, his brother should marry the wife and raise children for his brother." Deuteronomy 25, 5 through 10, right? We read this. This is a law. All right. Now there were 7 brothers, and the first took a wife and died childless. Now they're going to go all the way through this, right? Because this is not a real thing. "And the second and the third married her, and in the same way all 7 died, leaving no children. Finally the woman also died." So in the afterlife, in the resurrection, which they don't believe in, and they're very clear about this, whose wife does she become? For all 7 had married her. They're trying to make a mockery of the resurrection. They're trying to find holes in things. Who does this sound like? It sounds like Satan, because he is the deceiver who changes words around. If you want to know what Satan does, he changes words around to make them fit his agenda, to make them fit lies and deception. If you are turning words around, or if you listen to people who turn words around, it's from Satan. It's not from God. Jesus said to them, "The sons of this world and present age marry, and the women are given in marriage. But those who are considered worthy to gain that other world and that future age, and the resurrection from the dead, those who are worthy," and we just read about those who are worthy, didn't we? Yesterday, who put on the new wedding garments. They're neither marry nor are given in marriage. They don't marry. For those of you who love marriage, I'm sorry, but I think you're going to be okay. For those of you who are not a big fan of marriage, congratulations. You even have more to look forward to in heaven, right? And it says, "And they cannot die again, because they are immortal, like the angels," equal to being like an angel. What do we know about angels? They're incredibly powerful spiritual beings designed by God who have free will. Okay? Got a little note here. I'm just going to see what it is before I dig too deep. Nothing. And they're children of God, being participants in the resurrection. It's kind of like rubbing this right in the Sadducees' face. Jesus made it very clear that there is a resurrection. All are invited. Only few are worthy. That's what we know. And they are children of God, being participants in the resurrection. But as for the fact that the dead are raised from death, even Moses showed in the passage about the burning bush. Now, notice how he goes to Moses, because they started with Moses and his laws. So Jesus goes right back to Moses because he is answering their question by pointing out what they've missed and misunderstand about Moses. Moses showed in the passage about the burning bush when he calls the Lord the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob in Exodus 3:6. Now he is not the God of the dead. Who's a God of the dead? But of the living. So these forefathers will be among the resurrected, for all live in a definite relationship to him. What did these men have? They had incredible, incredible faith. And they lived out that incredible, incredible faith. Some of the scribes replied, "Teacher, you have spoken well, so that there is no room for blame." And they did not dare to question him further about anything because of the wisdom he displayed in his answers. There is no reason for us to dispute Jesus or his words. There's also no reason for us not to believe Jesus and his words. Here's some more facts from you, bulldozed over from yesterday. There is a resurrection. We will become like the angels. We will not become angels, so to speak, but like them. We will not marry or be given in marriage. What would be the purpose of that? Is it easier to... Well, I'm not going to ask that question. Let's just go with this. You will be neither married nor given in marriage. You will be free to fully praise and serve God. You'll be a spiritual being like the angels. You will live forever before a living God. Period. This is what the future holds for those who are worthy, who are pure, who are chosen. All are invited. The chosen ones are the ones who have done the will of God and been obedient in all things. That's who. In case you're wondering. Can we just get to that point where our heart and minds are just set on things above and not things here? Can we live that out? If we can live like that in the valley, I do believe that we'll hear his voice and feel his presence. And maybe that's the problem that I'm in currently. Maybe that's the problem that you're in currently. A little too busy in the world, a little too lost in it. And what we truly need is just to repent and remember how good God is, how much he loves us, and how he has a place waiting for us. Don't worry, your spouse will be there. But you'll both be free to give all of your heart to God. Doesn't say if we'll be parents or not, though, so just beware, okay? All right. I love you guys so much, and I will see you tomorrow when we continue on in our walk with Jesus.